Aztec Nation, what is going on? It is a new episode of the Sons of Montezuma podcast. The Aztecs suffered their first defeat at home to the Beavs. That's right. And we're going to talk about it all and with a special guest. Tune in. See ya. Oh, that was painful. That was painful, but we thank you guys for joining us anyways. This is the Sons of Montezuma podcast. And of course, I am Mateo. You can find me at Mateo San Diego on X. And of course, Sons of Monty on X, Sons of Montezuma on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. We thank you for joining this week 3 episode. It's a rather somber episode, but he's joining me no matter what. It is the man with the beard growing in very nicely, finally. K5 James. What's up, James?
What's up, man? It's good to be here, even though Saturday was pretty tough, the game and then after, but before the game was fun.
Before the game was a lot of fun. We want to thank you guys for joining us on Saturday at the tailgate. The weather was very hot for us San Diegans, and we want to make sure we show our appreciation to everybody who came by the tailgate. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces. The community keeps growing. We were right across the little grass from the Oregon State alumni party. For some reason, they were like right next door to us, James, but it didn't stop us from having some fun. So thank you everybody for showing out at the tailgate. It wasn't as hot as I think we were all building up in our minds. And once you start getting things going and seeing everybody, you don't mind. You don't mind.
Yeah, the temperature wasn't that bad. It was just the humidity, man. It was real humid, so that kind of feel worse. But yeah, once you get a few cold ones in you, it kind of helps smooth things over a little bit.
Start getting amped up, start yelling out, "Pound the Beavers." That was the rally cry. That was the chant for all the Aztec Nation there at the Warrior Walk and all that good stuff. But what can you say? We knew this was gonna come eventually, right? You knew the Aztecs were gonna lose a game eventually. We were hoping it wasn't gonna be the first FBS opponent that we faced, right? Because we were coming off of a pretty interesting victory over Texas A&M Commerce. And James, let's talk about it. Let's dive in before we bring in our special guest, before we get into all the topics on the table, because, man, there's a lot to talk about. There are some crazy things going on, Aztec Nation, to talk about. But, this game against Oregon State was going to be very interesting for many reasons. And one of them was to see, okay, well, how was the Aztec Fast offense going to look against this Oregon State team and against some real competition, right? I mean, you don't disrespect your opponents, but we all knew Texas A&M Commerce, that was like a no-win situation. You win, you run off, how many points in the second half, but the first half looked very bad. So it was one of those things like, well, you didn't put a whole game together, right? So you come into this game with already these things swirling about in your brain, like, okay, what are we going to see here? What are we going to see here? Well, what did we see here, James? What did you learn, man? What did you learn off of this defeat, this 21-0 defeat?
You know what? We kind of knew it was going to be like a work in progress, the offense, just because it's a drastic change. We all got excited the second half last week, and we were hoping that was going to be a sign of things to come. And it may still be, but excuse me, but it's early, and it's a completely drastic change in the style of offenses we've used here in the last 15 years. So I think, unfortunately, we saw a little bit of those growing pains. But on the other hand, they kind of showed some sparks. It looked like they'd get a few drives going. And then again, we had those penalty situations that we've been talking about, even in the last game. And we've talked about how it's been an issue here for a few years now. Any kind of momentum they started to build, it would just, whether it was a false start, a holding penalty, an illegal formation, it was just, kind of disappointing to see again. Um, but hopefully that's a thing they can clean up as the season goes on, and because the end goal is still the Mountain West Championship. And so I think it's still too early to judge this team completely. What I would project going forward, because the offense is still forming. I think the biggest takeaway is I think the defense is legit. That was a very good running team, and they put up a fight. It was, what was it, 7-0 midway through or towards the beginning of the fourth quarter. So I think that was impressive, the way the defense being on the field the entire game. We talked about the drawbacks of this offense, the go fast offenses. Unfortunately, your defense might have to spend a lot of time on the field. And I think they kind of answered that challenge. It wasn't until late in the game where they kind of I think they just ran out of gas from being on the field all day. So I was impressed with the way the defense played again this week. And I think it's a good sign going forward. That was kind of our biggest question when we hired Coach Lewis is, what about the defense? This has been a defensive minded program for a long time. Is that going to kind of go into the trash heap? And I think they've shown that it looks like we might have got the right guy to be the defensive coordinator. So I trust in Coach Lewis's offensive mind to get that side of the ball going soon. And I think that's exciting, knowing that we have it looks like a pretty good defensive mind on that side of the ball to match him.
Okay, that's an interesting take to it all. I mean, yeah, it was an impressive performance by the defense to keep things. It was a one-score game by the fourth quarter, James. And we see all the Beavers in the chat. We see everybody talking trash after the game. But coming into the fourth quarter is a one-score game. So, yes, you do have to give the defense a lot of credit for being tough, for being out there on the field and doing what they had to do, right? There wasn't really any explosive plays by Oregon State. I mean, their offense, it was kind of like watching, and I said it in the article this week, the recap article. It was kind of like watching Jeff Horton's offense. You know what I mean? It was like just ground and pound, play action, keep the ball away from the opposing offense and just don't do anything too risky that will put the ball up in the air. They missed a field goal, so it could have been worse going into that second half or into the fourth quarter, but the defense, though they did do some good things to minimize, Oregon State's offense, I'm still kind of scratching my head on a couple different things, though. And correct me if I'm wrong, though. Put me in my place if I'm wrong, man. But they had that one receiver that just went off on us all night. It seemed like that was the only guy that they were throwing to. I don't understand how one person who didn't seem like he had blinding speed, everything was underneath. It's like our defense was so determined not to let anybody take the cover off the ball and go deep. But then, you're just giving them all this yardage and they're just taking it. And then, the running back, they have a good running game. They're dedicated to the running game. It took its toll. It took its toll eventually in the second half, maybe all those snaps being on the field, right? But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you saw something there that was really preventing us from playing tighter coverage or just stopping. I think it was number 7 or something like that. Don't hate me because can't remember a Beaver player. It was Trent Walker.
Yeah, I don't think it was anything specifically. I think they just were determined to try to stop the running game and not get beat over the top by play action. And I think that's a pretty good formula for playing a team like that. Unfortunately, they just didn't get any help from the other side of the ball to make it, part of playing against a team like this is they want to keep the ball as long as they can and score and not let you score. And we kind of played into it because our offense wasn't able to get going. Had the offense been able to do anything, I think the defense played well enough to win the game. So one guy had some good numbers, but to me, that's not indicative of anything that, they could have done wrong or differently that would have helped. I mean, the offense scored 0 points. So no matter what they did, unless they held the other team to 0, we weren't going to win this game. So to me, it's not even worth really fretting over that until there's a situation where we're in a game where we're scoring points and it's a close game late and there's a guy that's continually burning us. Then we can have this discussion again and talk about, why didn't they get that guy under control or something like that. But to me, it's not even worth talking about. The issue is the offense, and we just have to trust in Coach Lewis to the offensive mind that he is, that he's going to get it going.
I appreciate you answering that very truthfully and honestly, because honestly, I don't really feel that strong about that point I just made. I just see a lot of people online with that being the chatter. So it's kind of like, well, let me see what James has to say about that. No, the defense played as good as they can, man. They played excellent ball. Had us in position to win. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the offense. Let's get into it a little bit. Aztec fast, not so fast there, right? It's kind of like easy, not so fast there, not so fast there. It's going to be a work in progress. I think you echoed my article in the Growing Pains. I even included the Growing Pains theme song from the old 80s sitcom in the beginning of the article. Show me that smile again. Oh, man. Yeah, we're not wasting any minutes of us crying. The best is yet to come. Man, I was getting real deep on that Growing Pains, but it's the truth, man. It's a new system, completely new overhauled roster, philosophy. And these aren't excuses. These are just the facts. These are just the facts. It is what it is. But
yeah.
let me offer this up to you, James. Let me offer this up to you because I'm gonna let you rip. Was this a matter of the Aztecs being undisciplined? The offense's failure in this game? Was it a matter of being undisciplined, or were they overmatched? Which one of those two?
I think it was not so much overmatched. I think they were a little undisciplined. The penalties are a sign of discipline, really, right? But I also think it's just the whole new offense, all the new parts. I think it's going to take a few games for it to start to click. I think we all got a little false sense of security after the second half last week. We thought maybe they're clicking early. Maybe he's such an offensive genius. He's got them all on the same page already. But, this is kind of a crash back to reality. Like, hey, this is going to take a little bit of time for everything to get going in the same direction. You got a ton of new guys, a whole new system. I don't think it was an overmatch. I still believe that the talent difference in the two teams it's not, what was the final score? 21 points. Yeah. I don't believe it's a 21-point talent difference. I just think that their situation was a little more continuous. It wasn't a drastic change, and we're making a drastic change and have a bunch of new players. So I think they were in a little better position early in the season. So we'll see. I mean, I could be wrong, and we might be overmatched all year, and we're just going to have to deal with that. But I don't believe that. In my opinion, it's not a talent thing. I think there's plenty of talent on this offense. I think it's just going to take time to get, to click, to get going and get it going. Everybody on the same page.
Yeah, that's along my same train of thought is just the undisciplined nature of where they're at right now. 16 penalties last week against an FCS opponent. 16 penalties. That is wild, right? So you knew that was Sean Lewis's quote saying we're going to be more disciplined next week. Well, they cut that number in half to 8. So, I mean, it was a sizable improvement as far as the undisciplined actions, but it just wasn't good enough. Not against an Oregon State, not against a team who, like J58 in the chat says, they ran for 237 yards. That's what they do. That's what they want to do. And when you're undisciplined, you have the penalties, you're just setting yourself up for more of that. And then that's when the pass opens up, the play action, all these trickery. They could have scored on a flea flicker, but the dude dropped the ball at like the 10-yard line, right? Lucky break for us. But these are the kind of things that happen when you're not in sync offensively on the line, especially, right? There's like a difference between, penalties when you're trying to make a play. I think that the commentators were saying that, you appreciate when a guy's trying to make a play and you get a penalty, but then when it's before the snap and it's a pre-read type of thing and you're setting yourself back before you can even, try to make a play, the controlling the controllables, right? That's what needs to happen. Team Mac, I appreciate everybody, and just to let you guys know, hit that like and subscribe button. We are going on, what is this, like 6 years on the podcast here, talking Aztec sports, especially Aztec football. Team Mac, very thankful for you. I know you weren't happy with throwing in the towel, as you said, with about 4 minutes so left in the game. And here he says, thanks for the super, T-Mac. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your support, man. I can accept that rebuilding takes time, The defense played well, except for outside containment. Very true. Very true on the edges. I did not like giving up with 4 minutes left instead of trying with backups. So before we bring in our guest, because we are going to bring our special guest in very shortly, because he played the position. Now, T-Mac says with 4 minutes left instead of trying with backups. Now, Danny O'Neal did suffer a lower leg injury there in that first half. Went into the booth, came back out. He had like a little brace around his leg or his knee, or I don't know what it was, like a wrap or a brace or something like that. But he was noticeably hobbled, James. You know, it wasn't like he couldn't move, but you could tell he wasn't as fast. The one scoring opportunity that we did have inside the red zone, obviously he tucked the ball. Defender came around the side. He had daylight right there behind the center getting into the end zone. So, you know, you can argue that decision, that decision if you want, but the defender made a great play, right? Stripped the ball, and the team never really could recover from that. But even with that, 4 minutes left, I know that might have kind of grinded your gears, James, you know, seeing that 4 minutes and deciding to run the ball. Anything you want to tap in on that, then?
Yeah, I agree with T-Mac. And it's not even so much trying with backups. You know, if Danny O'Neal's in there, you got to run your offense. I understand you're not going to maybe run any read option stuff, but they still did anyway. But like, why not try to throw the ball? I mean, if you're already admitting the game's over, at least try to throw the ball. Maybe something will happen. Maybe somebody will do something. There's still almost 5 minutes left in the game. That one, I left the game, that really left a really bad taste in my mouth, because they didn't even try to throw the ball on that last possession they had with, like you said, four and change to go. That's the one that really kind of upset me about the game and left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. Hopefully it was just he didn't want to get his guy hurt. He didn't want him dropping back and getting hit again. But if in my opinion, if that's your thinking, take him out of the game and let the backup play and just run your offense. So that's a disagreement I have with the coach's decision. But, you know, he's getting paid a lot of money to do this. So we'll see how it goes.
11 for 24, 107 yards for Danny O'Neal. On the ground, Marquez Cooper, after having a 200-plus yard afternoon, was 13 carries for 53 yards. He had a couple longer runs that got pulled back for holding and different things of that nature. And, yeah, of course, nobody really stood out in the receiving category, except for Lewis Brown. He had that amazing catch down there. I know Coach was in the presser was kind of kicking himself for not trying to go to LB sooner, he says, not trying to go to him sooner. He's a weapon. So, yeah, I can't say I completely feel strongly about making a switch at the quarterback or anything. I don't think that was the problem, to be honest with you. I think Danny had a solid game, you know?
It wasn't about Danny's performance. It was about the injury. Right. Yeah, right. There's nothing to do with Danny, the performance he put on. It was just, if the guy's too hurt to run the offense you want to do, you have to put in the backup. So, you know, I understand maybe his thinking was he didn't want to mess with Danny's confidence by taking him out, even though it was like an injury thing. But yeah. I just wish they would have shown a little more fight in that last possession.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those two things. They didn't really line up. Like, if you're going to tough it out with Danny in there, right, which is, I have no problem with that, right? He's hurting, but he's not injured. So if he wants to tough it out, you show that confidence in him, you let him tough it out. And I think he was fine enough to run the offense. I don't think there was any problem there. But then if you're going to make that decision, then let him run the offense. You know, let him do it. But don't pull back and compensate for maybe, you know, the last couple minutes or the injury or whatever reasons that may be floating out there. I'm not sure. We may never get an answer for that. Perfectly fine. The game was what it was. 21-0. You know what can you say about that? You know, we got a lot of beeves in the chat. We were given all the sideline beef staff the business down there behind the goal post, behind the goal line. We were giving them the business. They had good spirits with us. You know, they're having fun with us, with our signs and all that good stuff. So hey, credit to them. They won. They came in the house. We'll talk a little bit more on their fans there and the tailgate and all that stuff. But whew, okay. I think we should move forward a little bit because it is about 8:30 and we have ourselves a special guest that we want to bring in. We've talked with him before. We've met up with him before, both in the Bay Area and down at Snapdragon Stadium. He is an Aztec legend for sure. So we want to play this little introduction for all you Aztec Nation who may not know who our special guest is. Check this out.
Lowery going deep on the first play, has a man open. Darnay Scott, touchdown Aztecs. Ball shifted out to leave the backfield empty. And they're going for Marshall Falk. He is open. Touchdown, San Diego State, 80 yards. Lowery going deep. Is he open? Darnay Scott. See you later. Lowery again deep for Scott. He has it. Lowery to the end zone. Touchdown.
There he is. There he is. Ready or not, here we come. David Lowery, ladies and gentlemen, Aztec Nation number 11. Man, it's good to see you, David. How you doing? I like the hat.
Hey, thanks a lot. It's the old school disgruntled Monty. I don't think we're allowed to use that anymore at San Diego State, but oh well. How you guys doing?
Not
Good,
too bad,
man. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a beautiful day up here in the Bay Area. I'm waiting for you guys to come up here this weekend.
Yeah, I will definitely be there, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a challenging game against Cal. I know, boy, the last time we were there, that's when I ran into you first. I'm not sure if you remember that. Man. Ran into you and was, dude, I seen your son walking there with the jersey, Lowery on the back. I was like, Lowery? Said, yeah.
He's a senior.
Like,
he's a senior in high school now. That's what's crazy about it. He,
Oh man,
his memories and Facebook came up with him in that jersey when we were heading out to that game, and yeah, that was quite a bit ago.
Man, yeah, the last time we were up there. Now I hope you enjoyed those few clips that I shared of your cannon there.
Yeah, brings back some good memories. And the game wasn't as happy as those plays, but that was a good time.
yeah, man, that's some of my best memories as a young man is going to the game, watching you guys play on Saturdays. Man, I had a really good time watching you play. Man, it's so good to have a chance to chat with you and talk about some of those fun times.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Looking back at those videos, God, that was a long time ago. It was a lot less weight and a lot less gray hairs, but time flies, and I've been having fun. So let's get it going.
I was gonna say, man, you notice I didn't put any of the really any of the BYU plays, none of the back and forth plays, man. But
Yep.
Seriously, when I think back on that game, I was there and I was a little guy. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, that game was maybe one of the most explosive games that I've ever been to in any football game. Let me switch it up back over here. How we were, I kind of liked it over here. How we're talking. Everybody can see our faces here.
Got my old helmet in the background.
When you see all that scoring from your days as an Aztec in the 90s and knowing the offense of what we're seeing nowadays, trying to get things fast paced, get going. I know it's very different. I know it's a very different offense from what you guys ran back in those days. But how good does that make you feel? How excited are you to know that they're trying to get back to that explosive style of play?
I love it. I mean, I'm still, I think, number 6 all-time passing at San Diego State history after all these years, and I thought that would be a short-lived experience in the top 10. But the offense they have, it's basically it comes down to the same type of principles and theories that we had. Is you have to have the play, you have to have the guys execute the play, and you have to be ready to be on the line and change a play and see what they're doing. And that's, if you're going to go fast, then you have to be faster to make the decision and what their weakness is. And, we were able to do that with, the plays we had and the players we had. So I don't think there's a lot of difference in the offense. The offense is put it out there, make the decision, and be ready to go.
What do you think about that new offense, right? Where you get not in the huddle at all. You're in your formation. You're looking over to the coaches, right? Would you have fared pretty well in those type of
I
offenses?
think it would have been much. I would have loved it. I've coached that a little bit in high school, a little bit, and I ran that in high school. We actually ran a no huddle offense a couple times in high school, just as before it was even something. And what it is you're matching up against their weaknesses. So you're out there and you're looking across the field. The coaches are upstairs looking down. They're like, all right, here's what we got to go. Here's what we got to see. So the quarterback has to be almost in the mind of the coach. So the coach is calling something. He has to be able to look at that defense and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to make this decision in 1, 2, 3, go. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. You have to know your read. As soon as that ball snapped, it's 1, 2, 3 basically, and get rid of the ball. And it's a 1 read, maybe 2 read offense. And you're basically thinking that you're going to outsmart them by going fast. And if you can't do that, then you can't run that offense.
Man, how did it? Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
Go ahead.
How did
go
it
ahead.
feel to kind of looking back and seeing the career a lot of those other guys on that offense had in the NFL? Like, how does that feel, kind of looking back, that you were like the trigger man for such a great offense, man?
It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's always funny is like when people, oh, you play with Marshall Falk, you must have got a sore arm handing off. But yeah, we did hand off. He was pretty fun to watch. I got fined for not carrying out my fakes. Sometimes I like to watch him run the ball, but we put it up quite a bit, and it was dependent on that. If we can't throw the ball, then Marshall doesn't get that pressure up front, 8-man fronts, to be successful. I mean, he was going to be successful because he's damn good, but you have to have a whole offense, and running that offense and knowing that was awesome. I mean, to be able to go out and run that offense with 3 receivers, running backs in motion, and it was a quick, it was almost like a triangle offense where you read this to throw here, and you had the guys on the offensive line that did a great job protecting me, give me time to throw. As a 5'11" 3/4 quarterback, it's hard to see through bodies. So you had to trust your instincts and your knowledge, and the guys were going to be in the right spot. And I was blessed to somehow have that ability to do that with a bunch of gifted athletes.
Man, you talk about those athletes, the receivers you had around you, man. And to think that Marshall came out as a running back his freshman year, just took the whole college landscape by storm, right?
Yeah, that was what was weird. Is like I was going up against another quarterback in camp, and Marshall was second team, and I was second team, and
Yeah.
we kept going down the field and scoring. I'm like, hell, man, I'm pretty good. What's going on here? And I unfortunately didn't win the starting job right out of camp, but I was able to come in after that, and we went on a hell of a run. Won 6 games in a row, I think, are my first 6 starts.
Yeah.
And it was like, who the heck is this guy? It was pretty incredible. And then there was another guy behind him, Wayne Pittman, who, when Marshall broke his ribs, he came in and filled in. And that's just a testament to the guys we had, offensive line, the coaches, that, a future Hall of Famer goes out for 3 or 4 games, and we have another true freshman come in and pick up the slack, and we keep on rolling.
And that's what I was going to say. You guys were so young. When I think back on that year, that 91 season, I mean, you're a sophomore, right?
Yeah, I was a redshirt sophomore, so I played a little bit in '89, redshirted in '90, and then that '91, was the first year. But those 2 guys were freshmen, true freshmen. Darnay was a true freshman.
Yeah.
Ray Peterson, I think, that was Larry Maxey then. But yeah, we had a couple older guys in Ray Rowe and Patrick Rowe that supplemented with the younger guys, and it just they taught them how to play the game, and it was good. And that's what sort of, like, I look back at Danny right now, and he's a true freshman, and he had a lot more experience playing in high school. I only played 1 year in high school of quarterback. I was a linebacker and strong safety. So I only played 1 year quarterback. And so coming in as a true freshman, I was like, holy crap, these guys are fast and they're big. And you mentioned that when you ran for the end zone, and when you're out there with those guys, it's a bigger, faster game than you're ever can imagine. And being a freshman, it's going to take them a little while to acclimate to that position and see how that speed goes. But if he has the ability, like Coach Lewis says, to see what he sees and translate that to the field, then he has a good shot. It's tough to be a true freshman out there playing.
That's
Yeah,
honestly,
kind of I'm sorry, kind of speak to a little bit. You mentioned your height, and Danny's not a really tall guy either.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of speak to the difficulties you had being a shorter guy playing at the quarterback position. The guys might not have been quite as big up front as they are now, but they were still pretty big guys in front of you.
If they were over 6 feet tall, I couldn't see over them anyway. So it doesn't matter if they're 6'9" or 6'3". Basically, it's what you're taught in practice. It's a drop back, and you trust your reads on what you see in defense. I always joke with people, would talk about your height. It's like, yeah, I think I threw like 44 touchdowns and like 20 interceptions. I go, I probably saw 3 touchdowns and maybe 3 of the interceptions, because you'd be on the ground, you'd see which side of the crowd roared. If you're at home, it got loud, you're all right, that's a completion. But you had to trust what you went through in practice, and that's what it comes down to with this offense they have now. Is you have to be able to execute and trust what you see in practice, because no matter how tall you are, if you see it, if you see the guy open, you're gonna be late throwing it anyways, right? So you have to be throwing it before the guy's breaking. You have to trust your reads and what you see pre-snap and the first couple steps off the ball. That's what hurts a lot of quarterbacks, is they see this all of a sudden when the line starts, and then they freak out. Where you have to have that ability and that trust that what you're doing, and the guy's going to be where you're going to be throwing the ball.
That was something we were talking about with our buddy Coach C, as far as the receivers and the quarterback having to be on that same page. A lot of times, hey, a quarterback throws a pick, everybody's so quick to just point their finger at the quarterback. Well, you don't understand what the read was, what the option was. Like, maybe there's miscommunication there.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 6,000 passing yards. Is that what I see, man? Is that what I see in your career over here at State? And 3 years, right?
Yeah, it was. I started, I think, the last 7 games in '91. I missed a game or 2 in '92, and then broke my leg in the 3rd game in '93. So it was. I think I started 21 games.
Yeah, man. Wow. To I think, to sum up, if I were to sum up your style of play, or who I think of, when I think of your days as an Aztec, man, I mean, just a gunslinger. It felt like, watching those games, just a gunslinger, just throwing bombs left and right. But to see what you did in that short amount of time, not short, I mean, that's a really good college career, but very impressive, man. Very impressive what you were able to do in those years at such a young age. Like I said, surrounded with so many great players as well. And then you think about what you guys were playing, like in that BYU game, for example. I mean, Ty Detmer's defending Heisman winner, and you guys were just these young guns just coming out slinging it. First offensive possession in that game, and you guys go deep. Yeah. Who made that? I mean, that had to be scripted.
It was funny because that was our goal. They ran a sort of a cover 2 shell, cover 4 shell, but they bracketed inside receivers. And if our inside receivers ran an out route or a hitch, the safeties came up and got him, and it was 1-on-1 outside. And they figured, Coach Lay figured that out during the practice and said, all right, here, you're either going to be able to throw the deep ball, or we're not going to be able to win. Basically laid it on the line. And that week was sort of like a Santa Ana win at practice, and man, balls were going up in the air, just fluttering around. I was like, they're looking at me like, oh god, come on, you gotta complete some passes here. And luckily the wind had stopped, and when we came out in front of that sold out crowd at the old Jack Murphy Stadium, it was pretty exciting. And it rolled into next year, with USC at home, and unfortunately we tied them, and we ended up losing to Fresno State and Trent Dilfer at the end of '92 to go to the Holiday Bowl again, at the end of the season. It was just like, I feel so bad for the fans at that time, because we had it 2 years in a row. Should have gone to the Holiday Bowl, and it was frustrating. I still look back at that with a good degree of really bummed out on that for the fans and for the players and the coaches. It was it was fun, but we came up short, and it's sort of a frustrating to look back at it. Although now, as you get older, you enjoy what you did and look back at it. It would have been nice to have a couple rings up on the shelf to so validate it all, but
hey, you don't have to worry about us fans, man. It was still a lot of fun. We all enjoyed ourselves at those games. Yes, we would have liked to have those big victories, but I was there at most of those games. I was like Mateo said, he was there for the tie. I was there for the 51-51 or 52-52? I forgot. Yep, but I was there in the stadium for that game.
Yeah, no overtime back then.
That USC game was incredible as well. Just to come back down, I think it was like 21-6 or 28-6 or something to that effect. And it was hot. USC was all there represented. It was a Southern California matchup that we've only seen once since then. We were talking with Jack Hawley, the last quarterback who played against USC wearing an Aztecs uniform.
I was at that game.
Yeah, okay. But man, God, that game was just incredible. Let me ask you this, because we interviewed Carlos. I interviewed Carlos Gutierrez, the Aztec warrior. And one thing that we brought up, of course, that he was involved with was those legendary brawls with Miami. But you guys, your guys' teams were legendary for, come on, let's be real. You guys were fighters, man. You guys were fighters. It was Miami. If it wasn't Miami, it was Fresno. That Fresno State game in '92. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
What's the story behind that Fresno State game? Because I remember watching that fight, that brawl. It was the most wildest thing I ever seen on a football field.
I was a little dazed after that one because I had taken a knee and the guy came in and flattened me, and Mark Koenig came in and crushed the amidi and cleaned it up for me. But I was a little dazed after that. So you want to fighting in football helmets and throwing fists and stuff like that's not too smart. But I sort of stayed out of it after that because I was a little off. But I think it sort of fired us up. You hate to see that type of brawl. It happened the year before at the end of '91 when Marshall was out, Pittman was out. We had Larry Max as our running back, and again got late hit. Nowadays, you can't touch a quarterback, man. I was getting killed back there. They loved just coming in high against a 5'11" 3/4 quarterback. But it's sort of not something I'm real proud of because I was the guy that got in two of the fights got cleaned. But those are some good games, and like you said, looking back against Ty Detmer, then Trent Dilford, Lorenzo Neal, it was a lot of talent back in the WAC back in those days, and it was just there's some great games, and it was great playing at Jack Murphy, and some of the crowds were just amazing. And that's what I have season tickets down to Snapdragon, and I was actually going to be on this weekend, but it was my wife's 50th birthday, so I couldn't make it down. But my son and I come down to 3 or 4 games. Going to bring my daughter down for a game. She's a freshman in high school now, but it's awesome to see that stadium. I just hope to see it packed like it was for that BYU game, for the USC game, for the Fresno State game. There's nothing like playing in front of a crowd. I just got the chills thinking about that. I mean, you'll never have that feeling again playing in front of a crowd like that. So I'm hoping we can start getting more people in the crowd, in the stands, and back in the guys. And I'm going to try to get down there as much as I can from up in the Bay Area. But let's get people out there.
Echo that for sure.
Absolutely.
Before we talk a little bit about this Cal game, David, you talk about those days Aztec Nation would represent at the stadium at the old Murph. They'd come out, they'd be loud. Monty Montezuma was running around hyping the crowd up, and everybody was just everybody was a little sauced up and having a good time most of the times, right? It was the Murph. Like, and a lot of things went at the Murph that wouldn't be going on at Snapdragon these days, but
that's what happens when you have a 7 o'clock game. The fraternities, right? Everybody gets there a little early, and I can't have to tell the guys my fraternity. I'm like, dude, you guys got to start coming in before the end of the first quarter. You're missing a lot of the game. It's like, you're gonna have beer after the game. Come on, get in the stadium.
Let me ask you this: those years were electric. They really were. San Diego football as a whole, whether it's NFL, San Diego State, whatever, those years will always be remembered, whether we have the rings or not. Those are huge, huge years. Tell me about Al Luganbill, because as the coach, he was really a spark plug, right? I mean, my father worked in the administration back when Luganbill was actually in the administration. He went from the administration to the actual coach's position, which is, I mean, that's incredibly rare. You don't see people come from administration to, a whistle around their neck and wearing those coach shorts. You know what I mean? That just doesn't happen much.
Yeah, he came
from
Arizona
what about
State
him?
Yeah, he came from Arizona State, was a defense coordinator. They had a hell of a defense up there, and they had a bunch of guys go to the NFL. And I think he sort of came in as administrator, knowing, all right, maybe I'll get a shot in there. But he gave me a shot. When McGuire came into San Diego State, basically all the quarterbacks quit, and they needed somebody, and they gave me a shot. He gave me a scholarship. I was going to either go up to University of Idaho or Idaho State, I think it was, or maybe go to a JC. But he gave me a shot, and I can't thank him enough for that. And his whole thing was Phil Murph. He did that. It's just a bummer how things sort of turned out with Dave Lay being fired at the time because we had something going good. It was just looking back, I'm shocked at how a lot of the things turned out with that because he had something really good going. And it was sort of a bummer that I was there his first year, and then I was there his last year when he got fired. It's like, okay, maybe I could have done something a little bit better to maybe not get him fired, and maybe could have done something on his side not to get, it's one of those things. It's like it was a perfect storm of 5 years. People got excited, and then there's a little bit of a letdown, and all of a sudden they fired him. So it's you got to give coaches some time. You got to get some players time. Now in the NIL time, I mean, you have Deion Sanders just throwing money around, bringing guys in. Is that the way to go? I don't know. It's just a different world, and you have to have continuity with your football team. It's not like the NFL where you bring in guys that have been playing for 10, 20 years or 10 years together. It's tough for 18, 19, 20-year-old kids to come together and just go, okay, learn this offense, go out and play. You have to have continuity through the coaching, through the players. So it'll be an interesting scenario to see how that turns out. Sort of got off topic there, but I think it's with how the coaches are. It's like I back to Luke Bell. I appreciate the opportunity he gave me. I can't say anything more than that.
Awesome. So you will be there in Berkeley to watch this Saturday's game against the Bears. Man, they're coming off of a big victory against Auburn in Auburn, in Alabama. How are you feeling about this game, man? I mean, we've said it at the beginning. I think it's going to be some growing pains. We're going to have to endure a little bit, that patience with the coaching staff, what you're echoing right now as far as that goes and the scheme and all that good stuff. But I mean, what are you looking forward to, or what are you looking for in this game?
I'm looking forward to seeing the Aztecs on the field. I mean, I get a chill when I come down to the field or go to different games, seeing that the team on the field and being a part of that. Like I'm proud of that. I'm part of the history. My son, really wants to go to San Diego State, so hopefully we can get him in there. He's a lefty pitcher. So I have to try to work that a little bit, but it's just sort of a sense of pride, when you're down there. I know Cal has a really good running back. The quarterback's pretty solid. Their team's on the rise. They've used the jump to the ACC to get some good players in there. So it is going to be tough. It should be a pretty tough environment. I think there's going to be quite a few people up there coming off the win against Auburn. I'm just looking for our team to cut down the penalties and be efficient. Go out there and make decisions and play a game. But whenever I go to a game, I'm rooting my butt off, and I have pride in it, and always wear the Aztec colors with pride, and I'm just excited to be there.
Oh yeah,
we're excited to have you out there, man. Hopefully get to see you sometime up there at the game. If not, I know it's a huge stadium. They built it on a fault line, I guess. But
yes, they did. Well, they did some renovations. They had to get some people out of trees for a while there, but they finally got the renovations done. So hopefully, there's no big earthquakes this weekend.
Okay. Well, if there is one, if there is one, hopefully it's the Aztecs scoring a touchdown and spiking the ball right in the end zone,
pulling off the upset.
Yeah, exactly. That would be nice.
Well, David, we really appreciate you joining us, man. This is technically our second time interviewing you. That first Snapdragon game where it was 150 degrees there on the blacktop. You toughed it out. You came and joined us there on the blacktop and interviewed with us for a couple minutes there. If there is one word for sure, I keep thinking gunslinger. I keep thinking just a tough ball player back in those days, man.
I appreciate it. I had fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see, because I know Mr. Gutierrez, Tim Gutierrez, right? Was your backup that
Yeah.
that 93 season?
Yep.
I
Yep, he came and
wonder
played, yeah.
if we're gonna have to locate.
Yeah, I'd like to locate him too. Whenever I come down, I haven't seen him at any of the alumni events. So if you get a hold of him, let me know.
That would be something. I remember those years very fondly, man. Those were the years. Those were the
Yep.
years where fandom was forged. You know what I mean? You see
Those
you see
were
a
our-
loss, and you get pissed off, and you're like,
Yeah,
okay, we
absolutely.
gotta get him next year. We gotta get him
Yep.
next year.
Those were our formative Aztec years, man.
Yeah, it was a good time, and I know a lot of people had a good time, and a lot of guys in my fraternities, they bought one of the luxury boxes. They're always there, so I always go by and see them when I'm down there. So there's support out there. We just got to get it. I think we start winning a couple more games, and that place will fill up, and we can relive the excitement of the early '90s and '90s or mid '90s, whenever it was. But yeah. I'm just proud to be an Aztec, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, everybody,
All right.
everybody. David Lowery, thank you for joining us, man. Stay
Thank you,
safe,
David.
and hopefully we'll see you Saturday.
All right, sounds good, guys. See you then.
Take it
All
easy.
right, man. See ya.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. There you have it. James, let's take this time to kind of transition in the episode. I think right now is a good opportunity to let everybody know that we still have 20% off plus free shipping. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. Manscaped.com.
All right,
everybody,
Alex Jones.
2020. You gotta get it now. You gotta get it now. Your hair is going. If you got sweaty legs, you got hairy legs, you gotta cut. Hey man, we're going to CAL Berkeley, and you know, a lot of hairy people up there at Berkeley, dude. They need the Manscaped Suns 20 promo code deal. So all you Bears, if you're watching this throughout the week leading up to the game against Cal, you know, take advantage of this. 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com by using the promo code SUNS20. SUNS20. You know, hey, it don't matter. Berkeley, men, women, there's a lot of hairy legs up there, dude. You know, they need some Manscaped. They need some love. They need to take care of their grooming habits. And with that, we offer you Manscaped. Manscaped.com, everybody. And there's nothing wrong, you know, ladies. It's okay if you want to let some stubble, you want to, you know, get some hairy legs. It's all good. If that's for you, it's all good for you. More power to you. But you got to keep it clean. You got to groom it. You got to groom it. And Manscaped is here for you. Like that, James. Like that. Hey, man, just 2024, dude. We got some hairy leg action. Hairy leg
Hey,
action.
man. I just used mine the other day in the shower, dude. This thing, it's nice having it being wireless. You have to worry about getting wet or getting the thing wet or anything. So it's awesome, dude. I love mine.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay, well, summer is over. The smooth sack summer is pretty much over as we get into September. I'm seeing in the chat, T-Mac is saying, he's saying different quarterback this game, I heard. That's what he's saying. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's true. Is Javance starting? I mean, you're asking me, T-Mac. I don't think I got the answers for you on that one. I don't think so, unless news has already broke somewhere. I don't think I've heard that. But it would be interesting. I mean, you know, talk about Danny. He was hobbled, and he did have something on his leg, right? So I'm not gonna say with any kind of certainty that that's what's happening. I have no idea, but
Yeah,
it was on the fan page. I saw it on the fan page. Somebody brought it up on a fan page on a forum, right? And you just never know where there's smoke, there's fire. Who knows? Who knows?
If it is the case, I think it has more to do with injuries, most likely. Because like I said, I didn't see anything that was crazy where you would make a change. I'm trying to look up the latest depth chart real quick as I'm talking to you.
As you're frozen on the screen.
Oh, am I? Oh, it's because I moved off the. It's because I moved off of the app. Hold on, dude. I'll get right back. Forget
Oh,
it.
yeah,
I was trying to use my phone to look up as I was on the phone with you.
look like Harrison Ford in Star Wars, dude. You're frozen there, like that.
And carbonite.
Fiend says Javance is from the Bay Area, so does that mean he's gonna get the start? Is that what you're saying, Fiend? Fiend. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I haven't seen that at all, so that's interesting. You got to go with whatever the coaches think. You think they would have? I don't remember hearing about it at the press conference, but I don't know, man.
Until we see something come out officially on the 2 deep, which I'm looking at the 2 deep right now, the current one, that's not the case. But hey, anything can happen because college teams, they don't have to necessarily put out their injury report, right? It's pretty much voluntary if you want to or not. Okay, James, let's talk a little bit about some other issues going around Aztec Nation, because just this week after this loss to Oregon State, you're playing against Oregon State, a former member of the Pac-12. Up next, you got Cal, who basically begged their way into the ACC along with Stanford, kicking and screaming. Okay, we were all at one point in time hoping that we were going to be in the Pac-12 all together as one big happy family. That did not happen. It was devastating for you who's watching, devastating for me who's talking, flapping my gums right now. It was a tough thing to go through, but I don't think it was any tougher than for one JD Wicker. I think as the AD, he's intimately involved with everything that's going on as far as negotiations, just looking up all the information, doing due diligence, and developing relationships with all parties involved to try and make that expansion or musical chairs of conferences, find a seat. And when we didn't find a seat with the Pac-12, that was tough, right? And there was a lot of disappointment. So when I heard this week through Mark Ziegler's article in the UT, I believe JD kind of opened up a little bit, and it shocked me. And here's why: because we hadn't really heard anything about the Big 12 and San Diego State. Us on the show, we were obviously in favor of Pac-12 when it appeared that was going to be the move last year for a multitude of reasons, economically, TV, cultural, location, education, all that good stuff. I mean, it was a no-brainer fit, right? And no doubt the CSU and SDSU were all about that. So to hear JD make a mention in the article that the Big 12 actually, I'm not going to say there was an offer, because there's no proof that there was an official offer the Big 12 were giving San Diego State, but there was a specific detail about what the Big 12 would have offered San Diego State, and it wasn't much. It wasn't much, James. I mean, from JD, what he was saying, it was like a half of a share, and with no future revenue possibilities in the next TV deal. From what I kind of am gathering, a lot more than this than I do of these type of media contracts and dealings. It's your jam. It's K5 James' jam. I love this stuff. So I mean, what did that quote? What stood out to you about that quote? Because to me, it's kind of like, well, why now? Why are you bringing this up now, JD?
Yeah, as to why, I have no idea why he would bring it up. I guess maybe he was asked about it. I don't know. And finally, at this point, he's like, it doesn't matter if it gets out now. At the time, they made that offer apparently of half of a credit, half of a portion that the normal members get, and no ability to up that until the next contract negotiation. And they had just signed their contract, so I think it was like another 10 years. It was a long contract they signed. I think it's to like 2032 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I could see why, if that was the case, why he turned it down, especially when you had a likely pending offer from the Pac-12 coming. I think it's easy to look back now and say, oh, well, he should have done it. Why did they do it? But there's no that offer remained after the Pac-12 fell apart. So it's kind of easy to use hindsight and say, oh, he should have taken that offer to the Big 12, when there were a lot of moving pieces back then, a lot of different scenarios. And could you imagine if he would have agreed to that and the Pac-12 would have stayed together? Do you think Aztec fans would have been happy being part of the Big 12 as like basically a surf to the rest of the Big 12 teams?
Yes, I would have. And this is where I'm gonna bounce back on you, because obviously everybody's talking about this quote from JD.
So
Everybody's
hold on.
Okay.
Before you continue, you would have been happy if the Pac-12 would have stayed together. You would have been happy with the Aztecs as a surf in the Big 12, playing all the Big 12 teams, none of the Pac-12 teams that are in the Big 12 now. And the Pac-12 got a deal for like $30 million a year, $25 million, whatever you want to say. You would have been okay with that?
Would I have been happy? Probably, yeah. And
Really?
I'll tell you why. Because it ain't my money, dude. It's not my money. It's not really coming affecting me. You know, I'm just a fan. I go to the games. I'm a diehard fan. I do some all this stuff. I want to have fun. I want to play big games. I want the teams to play big games, the opportunity to play big games. Now, I know there's a lot of moving parts to the college football playoff, and we probably wouldn't have had a shot being, a member of those Big 12 teams and such low revenue coming in. But who knows? You put yourself in that position. You put yourself in that position with the Big 12. My whole thing is this: if there was a legitimate offer there, whoever's offering me first, like a legit that signed the dotted line, you have to take it. You have to take it. I don't care who gives it to you. If it's a power conference, if they're the first ones to offer that to you, and if the other one is dragging their feet, and let's be real, that Pac-12, I mean, we were drinking the sauce. We were drinking the Kool-Aid last year. I'll admit it, because we wanted it. I wanted the Pac-12. But then when 3 months turned to 6 months, and then it turned to however, like it just kept stringing along. All those deadlines, all the goalposts kept moving. At a certain point, you do have to put your foot down and say, who's going to step up to the plate? And if there really was an offer, which to be honest with you, I don't think there was a real sign the dotted line offer. But if there was, you got to take it. You got to take it.
Yeah. For me, it's hard to agree with that. Like, I understand, you want to get into the big boys table, but getting in as basically making a fraction of what everybody else in your conference is making, how are you going to compete in all the sports when you're not making anything relative to them? And you can argue they're not doing that now, but we're not competing against those guys for conference championships now. We're competing against our peers now for conference championships. So we can still compete and have a chance to compete at a national level because we're on equal playing field right now. Whereas if we went to the Big 12 as the half credit, whatever, I forgot what they're getting, 30 million, 28 million, something like that. So we'd be getting 12 or whatever, 15. So you're coming from a position of disadvantage against your conference mates. And to me, and that was my biggest thing about the Boise thing, and that's only $1 million or $1.5 million extra that they're getting. To me, that's not fair, and I'm pissed about that. So could you imagine twice, like multitude more, 10 times more that our conference mates are getting, and the whole conference is getting, except for us? I would be pissed if they took that deal and then the Pac-12 stayed together and went and signed a deal for $25 million, even $20 million. I would have been pissed if the Aztecs would have done that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think if you take that deal, what T-Mac is saying, it's still more than what we're currently getting now, which is true, but in the Mountain West. But you're not necessarily comparing it against the Mountain West. You're comparing it against the Pac-12. You have the Mountain West in the back of your head, but you're comparing Pac-12 and Big 12, those possibilities of those things. And they just played their hand wrong. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. But, you're in the Big 12. You leverage being in San Diego as far as you can, as much as you can. If you're not making that money, there's no substitute for that. I get it. But you leverage that as much as possible.
But
It's
the thing
just
is, dude,
hindsight. It's hindsight is 2020, and it's a tough pill to swallow, man.
obviously the conference is better than the Mountain West, but you're putting yourself at a disadvantage compared to the rest of your conference mates. Versus, yes, we're in the Mountain West, we're not making as much money, but neither are the rest of our conference mates. So at least on the field, competitively, we are on the same level and able to compete with them monetarily. So I just don't agree with locking yourself, especially for 10 years, man. That's a long time in college football, the way the game is evolving. Being locked into making half as much as your conference mates for 10 years, that's a big deal. And if the Pac-12 would have held together, we'd have been in worse shape. So I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just saying it's not as easy as, oh, you take that deal. I'm just saying that it's not as easy as everybody's trying to make it out to be, like, oh, you got to take that deal. There was a lot of moving parts, man. There's a lot to think about long term. There's still going to be a lot of upheaval coming. So we'll see what happens.
This is true. There's a lot more shaking going on. It may not be to our liking or to our wishes, but who knows what's going to happen? Oregon State, Cal, Stanford, Washington State, things may shake down. I think I'm pretty impressed with Gloria Navarez of the Mountain West commissioner. So far, she's played her hand very well, with what she can. And she's kind of got a little bit of upper hand, but it's such a stalemate between these Pac-2 and Mountain West. Who knows where it's going to end up. T-Mac says SMU is paying to get into a power conference. Yes, SMU can do that. They can absolutely do that. They've got the bucks. They've got the
SMU
dollars.
also has multi-billion-dollar endowment too.
yeah, they can do that. Now, state of California, on the other hand, state of California. Whoa.
And that's the thing is, I think this ACC situation is untenable. I don't see how this is going to work long term with Cal and Stanford and the ACC unless they do something to give them more partners. If they kind of build a West division of the ACC or something of that nature. So there's going to be a lot more changes coming. I don't think it's the end of the world right now. I don't think we're locked into the Mountain West forever. And the Mountain West TV deal is coming up. We'll see what that looks like. That could change things. There's a lot going on.
Fiend says more butts in the seats in a Big 12 level competition to make up for some of that revenue loss. You're gonna need a lot of butts in those seats to make up for that revenue, man. Some big butts. You need some big butts in many of those seats. Maybe have a big butt section. Just bigger seats, bigger butts, bigger bucks. Yeah, something like that. Oh, James, what a crazy, crazy time to be an Aztec fan. How are you feeling about this Cal game? I know we heard Mr. Lowery give his thoughts on Cal. They built their stadium on a fault line, dude. They got Tightwad Hill up there. People watch the game for free. Cal don't care about football. Their fans don't really care. They have a couple trolls online that love to give us a little bit of the business. They're smart. They're smart kids, right? They're very smart brainiacs over there. But how are you feeling about this game, man?
Dude, we're justifiably an underdog. They're a solid team. They started to play pretty well, if I recall, down the stretch last year, and they've kind of carried it over this year. It's difficult to predict an Aztec upset just because our team is still taking those baby steps. But as with the defense, the way they played, we'll see if they can keep us in this game, and if the offense can get going, anything can happen. I'm not expecting it, but I'm just hoping to see some fight from the offense. I'm hoping to see the defense continue to play well, maybe get us some turnovers. That was the only thing they didn't do, really, if I recall, on Saturdays. I don't recall any turnovers. It would be nice to get some turnovers, maybe to help the offense out a little bit, give them some field position. So it's going to take something like that to really give us a chance to pull off the upset against a good Cal team.
I think that's the key. You got to get some turnovers. As good as the defense, was able to keep things manageable and within striking distance, unfortunately, you got to create some turnovers, man. There's no real way to win this game without creating at least I'm gonna say two. You got to get at least 2 turnovers. You got to flip the field somehow. This team is tough.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
This team is
That's a
tough.
fair
They handled
assessment.
they handled UC Davis, put it down on the road against Auburn. They've got 7 interceptions, Cal. They lead the nation with 7 interceptions. Now, we have yet to throw an interception. And no other team in the nation has more than 5. So they've got 7. Their defensive back, Noel Williams, I'm reading this off of their stat presser, whatever. Noel Williams is only one of 2 players in the nation with 3 interceptions, so you might want to avoid that dude. And well, what else? Nothing else really. That their passing efficiency is 11th nationally. Okay. Auburn, as good of a win as that was, Auburn doesn't scream out to me to be the Auburn of, Cam Newton's day, or anything like that. But still, that's an impressive win. 2 turnovers. Give them to me, guys. Defense, they're not getting the pressure on the quarterback. They're not getting many tackles for loss against Oregon State. And Oregon State, man, they're no juggernaut either. They're quality. They're tough. But boy, these penalties are going to have to be cut in half again. If we cut them in half from 16 to 8, cut that sucker down to 4 again.
Yeah, how about like a clean game, man? No penalties.
Yeah. Well, Fiend says Cal's quarterback left with a knee injury against Auburn and should be able to go. Sounds like one Danny O'Neal a little bit, maybe. If we lose, we lose, but I will be pissed if the coaching staff gives up again, if the game is decided. There's a method to the madness, especially year one, talking with Coach C, the coach, sometimes they're going to make their hard-nosed decisions, the reasons why they do certain things. They want to keep to a certain standard, what that may be, implementing whatever they're trying to implement. You got to trust that they're doing the right thing. Cal favored by 19, says Justin Golden. 19.
That seems about right. Yeah, dude. And this is their first road game, and it's at a Pac-12 stadium. So, this, who knows, man? Maybe the team will be getting away from home, get them super focused, and they'll come out their hair on fire and play the game of their life and pull it all together. We'll see, man. I'm excited to see it. I'm still going to watch every play. So whether they get blown out or pull off the upset, I'll be watching every play, most likely.
Well, they are the #1 public university in the world, CAL Berkeley. But I don't care, man. I want to beat these fools for what they did to the Aztecs. We believed everything them and Stanford had to say about the Pac-12. And if there's anybody to hang this Pac-12 blunder on, I think it's CAL Berkeley and their Birkenstocks. Okay. I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode, guys. I want to thank you guys for joining me and K5 James. Thank you to David Lowery, quarterback number 11 from those explosive teams in the 90s. That was really cool that he stopped by. Friend of the pod. Obviously, you noticed he was drinking with that pint glass, the Sons of Money pint glass. I don't know if you caught that, dude. That's
I like the merch placement. The merch placement was on point.
Man, clutch. That's a clutch quarterback right there, man. Clutch quarterback. Yee. All right, Justin Golden, I will see you. Booked a flight and hotel. See you there, Sons of Montezuma. Flavor guy is in the house, in the Bay. I'll be there for the Padre game. Me and Fiend will be there for the Padre game on Friday. Anybody, if you got going to the Padres, hit us up on X. Hit us up on Instagram. Let us know where you're going to be at. We're going to be all over the Bay Area, from San Francisco to Berkeley and everywhere else in between. And Flavor Guy's going to be there. Make sure you bring the wig, dude. We got to find we got to find Flavor Guy's real son that goes to state, dude. We got to find that guy, man. Guy Fieri's son. He goes to state. He's an Aztec now. We got to find him.
Yeah. Awesome,
all right,
man.
guys. Before we sign off, we do want to have a little breaking news on the NIL front. We have a couple new team members to announce, but one in particular that we're going to put out there, of course, none other than Mr. Danny O'Neil, the quarterback himself. Hopefully he's good to go for Saturday. We've got a couple items with his name on it. Danny Dimes. Hopefully we'll get some support for him and give him that extra boost that he needs there to perform in Berkeley. And if it's not him, if it's Javance, if it's Duffy, whoever it is, we got their back. But definitely check out Danny O'Neil's new merch, his new collection at sonsofmontezuma.com. Check it out today, right now, wherever you're watching us from. All right, James, you feeling good?
Oh yeah, man. I'm excited for the game Saturday. No matter what happens, it's going to be fun. It's always great to see the Aztecs play. So I'm ready. Saturday can't get here soon enough.
I hear the excitement. Oh yeah, I hear the excitement. Yes. Nah, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, everybody. On behalf of K5 James, Mateo San Diego, signing off, sonsofmontezuma.com. Beat the Bears. Let's go.
Yeah, go Aztecs.
I like those, bro. I like those.
Yeah. I like the one with the dime on it. That's pretty good.
See you guys.